Hello guys, Hyranic Gaming here, and today we are going to take a look at the new card for September. We are joined by Dovahkiyn, who is a popular streamer and consistently high-ranking Legend player. So the new card is Hist. It's a 3-cost support that gives you +1 max magicka, and then when you have 15 max magicka or more, you sacrifice this card to summon an 8/8 Swamp Leviathan in each lane. So Dovahkiyn, what are your initial thoughts on this card?
When I first saw this card, I thought it was insane. One, it's only 3 magicka. Compare it to Tree Minder, which has very minimal impact when you play it. But this also gives a gold for ramp. So previously there was really no point to having more than 12 magicka, since there's nothing in the game that costs more than 12.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, Scout would maybe have a little bit of an advantage if they were able to draw well against like other control decks, just because they had more magicka to play with. But until there wasn't really a point to hitting that max ramp magicka. So this gives you a very good reason to include like Tree Minder and other ramp cards in your deck, because this has the potential to finish the game immediately. There are very few decks. I don't think there's any deck outside of having 2 javelins that can deal with this the turn it comes down. So it's pretty insane.
That is very true. I don't play a lot of Scout or Sorcerer. I play a lot of Warrior, and I looked at this card, and I mean, it's definitely not as, oh my god, what is this? That the last card Smuggler's Hall was. I can't see playing this in a Warrior deck, or in my Warrior deck anyway. But yeah, you bring up a lot of excellent points. That this is definitely hard to deal with if you make it to that 15 magicka, and your opponent just doesn't have the answers. So.
Yeah, and it gives other classes the ability to ramp. Like you said, you were thinking about it in your Warrior deck. So before, if you just ran the purple side, you could only ramp 3 magicka total with Tree Minder, and that was kind of it. Running a ramp deck with only 3 ramp cards in it is really bad. Oh, I guess we have
you have the Venom Tongue too.
The temporary ramp as well.
Well, you also have Venom Tongue, which gives you +1 magicka on kill. So there's that.
Yeah, that's true. That one you have to actually do something though.
That's true.
You can't control the ramp from it. So, I mean, that's why you see kind of Scout, because they have hit the Thorn Hiss Mage that allows the ramp too. So you have like more ramp options, plus the ramp draw. So that was kind of like the ramp class.
Right.
But now, because you have this, you could run a ramp for any purple deck. So you could think about running like a rampy type Warrior deck with just tons of big threats, like 3 Giants, 2 Dremora, that kind of thing. And because and Sorcerer as well. You can run 6 total ramp cards, kind of ramp into the end game. And have these Swamp Leviathans come out to win the game. So I think we'll see ramp in more than just Scout from here on out. It's my opinion.
Right. Well, I mean, this card definitely fits well into Scout. Anything ramp fits well into Scout. But I was thinking, if you're looking at like a sort of Sorcerer control-ish deck, I think with this card you could also see kind of an increase in the Venom Tongue Staff of Sparks combos, because if you can potentially Staff of Sparks a whole lane with Venom Tongue, that's +4 magicka right there. So you already have enough. You just have to survive until 15 magicka, which would be what, turn 9 with this card? I think
yeah, if you could get a really big turn like that, yeah, you could get this out a lot sooner. And like I said, yeah, we haven't seen it too much, mostly because there was no point.
Right.
To it. There's no point to like trying to get your magic account up super high. So I think that's definitely a viable strategy. This is like a win condition in one card. So
I
that's what's
can
fun.
definitely see it. The one thing that does kind of concern me though is that, strictly speaking, this is not a card you want on turn 3, simply because as soon as you play it, it's +1 Magicka, and then it just sits there. It has no ongoing effect. So I can see really wanting to play this card turn 5 through 7, but turn 3, I think another card like a Treeminder or a card that a 3-drop that helps you solidify board presence would be more desirable than Hist.
Yeah, this is almost unplayable in curve. I mean,
Right.
it's not unplayable, but you also don't really want to play it because you're not really playing it for that ramp. You're playing it for the effect.
Right.
So you don't want it to get removed. So you play a turn 3, it's got 12 turns, 11 turns to sit there for your opponent to remove it. But say you play this, say you include the other ramp, you're sitting at 14 Magicka, and you play 3 Histgroves. Then you have 3 Swamp Leviathans in each lane instantly, in one turn. That is absolutely incredible.
Right, and then once you break that 15 Magicka threshold, this is simply just a 3-cost summon 2 8/8 creatures. That's really, really terrifying.
Bonkers. It's gonna really put pressure on Control Mage.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I saw in the Reddit post people were kind of discussing the card and all right, Scout's really good. Bethesda also mentioned they were making some tweaks to other decks, other cards, and I really hope they don't change Control Mage a lot, because Control Mage is the only thing that was keeping Scout in check, and right now Control Mage is going to have a really hard time keeping this card in check. Not even you can't even say you Dawn's Wrath one side of the board, he still has 3 8/8s on the other side. There's very little that deals with this all at once.
And the thing is, Control Mage itself only has access to one support removal, and that's the Vicious Drew. All of the rest of them are Annihilates yellow-purple. The Shadowfen Priest is purple, and the Belligerent Giant is red. So this would be a tough thing for a Control Mage to counter.
Yeah, this is going to let Scout take that matchup, I think. So Mage decks will have to change, because if they play Scout versus Mage, you get in that long game battle. Saving 2 or 3 of these for one turn just wins you the game. So
Right.
Mage is going to have to come up with better ways to be aggressive to win the game. So yeah, it's a good card.
So I can definitely see this being played in Sorcerer and Scout. I was thinking, just in passing, maybe a Spell Sword with the Doggy Rot Mystic. Maybe that could potentially work. I don't play a lot of Spell Sword, but what do you think? What other decks do you think could benefit from Histgrove?
Yeah, Spell Sword for sure. Spell Sword control is already good. You have lots of
true, yeah.
You have lots of hard removal, lots of silences, lots of guards. Yes, Spell Sword control is great. You just have to tweak the deck a little bit, add some, add a few Treeminders, add a few of these.
Right.
There's no reason to not run this card in a control deck. It's just absolutely amazing. It's a win condition on its own. It's a reason to play control, to make it to that 15 Magicka, and I think what I love about it too is the combo-y type of feel it has, because you can play potentially 3 of these in one turn. So that's just awesome.
Oh yeah.
Makes for those really cool plays.
Yeah. The one thing though, if you look at all of the ramp available to purple on its own, I mean, you have 2 cards that one of them, the Hist Speaker, will lose that ramp when it dies, and the Venom Tongue has to it actually has to attack a creature and kill a creature in order to gain that ramp. So there is the kind of concerned that you do have to play 3 ramp cards before this will activate. No matter what, you have to gain at least +3 magicka, and assuming you dropped all of your ramp cards, you would still only have guaranteed 6 magicka. You would have to the other 2 ramp cards aren't guaranteed magicka, so that's a little bit concerning, but I don't think that's enough to make this card at all bad. I think this card is definitely still good on its own.
Yeah, I think it's still playable in mono. Like, if purple's your only access to ramp, it's playable for sure. Like, even if you just used 1 to temporarily ramp later in the game, and then you have 2 more that are coming, to deal. Because a lot of times you won't draw into all 3 of your tree minders, but you have a couple other options that can get you there. Thorn Hist Mage was always the best ramp option.
Oh yeah, I love that
for Scout. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun card. I think it's very well balanced. Honestly, I think it's it's well. The idea is really cool. Like I never thought of a card like this. This never came in my head. Like, oh, you know what? We should have a late game thing that summons Swamp Leviathans. That just never came to my mind. So that was an awesome reveal. Because it's like, whoa, that's a really cool effect. That's a card to build a whole deck around. So, yeah, good job to Bethesda.
I can certainly see that. Yeah. All right. So let's go briefly into the upcoming card patches for the game. The first one, of course, that stands out is the starter pack that's now available, which is a one-time purchase that includes 10 packs of cards, 1 guaranteed legendary, a special title, and 3 alternative art cards.
So Blizzard actually did this exact same thing this last week with the starter pack, and their starter pack is 10 packs of cards and a guaranteed legendary. So it looks like Bethesda's keeping a close eye on Hearthstone's marketing practices and kind of doing the same thing. I think it's great. It's a great idea. It's great. Any way to get people cards and legendaries easier is great. Just encourages more people to come play the game.
This game is gonna take all my money. I'm resigned to that fact. Those alternate art cards, though, they look nice. I have to say, Black Sap Protector in particular looks so much better than his standard art. Just in my opinion. Yeah.
I'll have to patch it and log in and see.
They look nice.
Are they alternative art as like you could collect both types? Like, say it's like a rare art pull from a pack, or is it just they just kind of changed the art?
Well, they just changed the art, and it says that they're account bound version that is permanent to your collection. So I'm assuming that once you buy this pack, you will have these cards in your collection, and you won't be able to soul trap them. Which is just
okay.
what I'm assuming.
Like a promo card.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that makes sense. Cool.
And then aside from that, there was the new menu flow. The menu does look really different. There was a new card sellback system, so I'm assuming just by this that they are definitely going to have a lot of incoming card changes by instituting a new sellback system.
They posted on Reddit, I think, that they were definitely going to take advantage of the fact that it's an online card game. Something that Blizzard doesn't do very well. Magic can't do. If you have hard printed cards, you can't nerf them. You have to reprint cards in a later set. But like digital card games have the ability to balance all the time, and that's like amazing to see that they're looking at balance changes like consistently and doing it on like a monthly basis. It's gonna make the game really fresh all the time.
That is very true. It's very true. Another thing that is, I think a lot of people aren't going to put too much stock into, but will definitely change the game a little bit, is the changes to the rank system. How you can no longer, before the Lord, if you were ranking up, you couldn't lose stars, but now as soon as you get to the Lord, you can start losing your stars. And then there's an additional star you have to win in order to rank up. as well as no bonus matches past the warrior and beyond. I can definitely see this making it a lot harder for people to get to legend just without those bonus matches alone. Like that's a significant thing that they are changing in the way people climb up the ladder.
Yeah, so I hate to bring up Hearthstone and everything, but like that's
all right. It's perfectly alright.
They literally took this exactly from Hearthstone. This is how it works. You stop at rank 5. There's no win streaks anymore, and it gets incredibly difficult to grind from that point. So, I think you're absolutely correct. Like, we're gonna see much fewer legends. We're gonna see people probably not hit legend nearly as quick. Usually it would only take like 2 days,
right?
3 days of just hard grinding at the first of the month, because you can't, there's loss protection. there's no downside to just winning or playing a deck that kind of has a, if you play super aggro decks, you don't get punished because
right.
you'll just win those games that you draw well, and it doesn't really matter if you lose because you're not de-ranking. So,
well, yeah, and that's the thing. Before this patch, you could play strictly 50-50, like a deck that strictly gets 50% win rate, and still climb up to legend on the backs of those bonus matches. And now you can't do that anymore. You'll stay exactly where you are. So that's...
Right. I think it's a good addition to the game. Make legend more exclusive. You'll have people actually striving to achieve it. Right. I mean, people did now, and everyone hit legend. You'd see 100 posts on Reddit. I hit legend, and it's like, yeah, so did we all. So did everyone who's playing the game. So I think it'll kind of it'll make it feel like a lot more of an accomplishment. But I know coming from Hearthstone and doing that legend grind with no bonus matches, no loss protection, it gets to be very time consuming.
Right.
So the downside might be that it's kind of off-putting for people that don't have, 4 hours a day to play this game. So.
That's true. And the other thing that's a little bit strange to me, I guess I can understand why they did it, but there is now a soul gem cap for practice mode, so you can only get a maximum of 300 soul gems for practice mode rewards, which means I can't go on long farming tours of the practice mode and just for a couple of epics, you can only get 300 soul gems a day from practice, which caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't think they were going to do that. I guess I can see why they did that, so people couldn't really ramp up their collections on practice alone. It's just that one caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there was any downside to it. It might have been some preemptive thing they did to avoid the inevitable bot farming. People that make an algorithm or something to play a Prophecy Assassin deck,
Yeah.
and play it in practice mode nonstop and just farm soul gems while people aren't playing. But that a soul gem cap for practice mode just encourages people to actually play other people. So it's a good thing.
That's true.
You can't go in your practice hole anymore, Hyranic. You have to come out in the world and play with us.
Aww.
I'm just kidding.
That's right. Okay, so the final thing, and this is another one that it's kind of an indicator of what's to come, I think, is the creature types. So they broke up animal and undead into beast, reptile, spider, and mudcrab, as well as for the undead, spirit, vampire, skeleton, and mummy. Now, the only game change it looks like that this actually causes is that now Bone Colossus will only buff skeletons instead of vampires and spirits and mummies, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's also kind of confusing. So the first example, Dawnbreaker will still target the same group of undead.
Right.
It's every time you play that card, you're hovering over every card on their side, and which one's undead? I don't know.
That's true.
It looks like looks like, yeah, they are trying to open up some design space by like being more specific with tribal types, but like as of today, it's kind of confusing because there aren't any real synergies with the tribes. But maybe we'll see some of that in the future.
Right. I want to think that this is just kind of a lead into a lot more development of undead now that they're into 4 separate subcategories, as well as the animals. More mud crabs would be nice. If I could make a deck full of mud crabs, I'd do it.
Make a mud crab deck.
Exactly.
That'd be fun.
So that could be a good indicator of the future of further development. I mean, Bone Colossus itself, like that's the only real gameplay change is the Bone Colossus. But I mean, people already play that kind of for the additional 11 damage on board, and it will still give skeletons that same boost. So I don't think this is too huge of an issue, but it is a little bit weird.
Yeah, Bone Colossus will see the exact same amount of play. Like that didn't affect. Just having boost skeletons does not affect the reason why you play the card. You know, play the card to fill a whole lane, create a whole lane threat. So yeah, it's kind of slight nerf, but not really.
Right. Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you joining me for this little detour into the card updates and the new card. Thank you for coming on, Dovahkiyn.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
For those of you guys interested in seeing more of his stuff, a link to his Twitch will be in the description below. Thank you guys. You have a good day.
Spare us your stories, old man. Unless they can sharpen spears. Our war chief is dying.
We should go, Kellen. We have the scroll we came for. Patience now. The Elder Scrolls show us what was, and what yet will be. They have revealed much to me.